You've seen them everywhere, right? Those neat rows of shiny bikes, just waiting for you to unlock them with an app? Yeah, city bike shares have totally become a fixture in our modern cities. But as they popped up on every corner, a really big question has started to surface. Who are they actually for?
And that's really the heart of what we're digging into today. Is this an awesome urban revolution for everyone, or is it kind of turning into a ride just for the wealthy? We're going to unpack a major study on U.S. bike sharing to see if this green transportation movement is really serving all communities, or if some folks are being left behind.
To really get this whole debate, we first have to understand the promise. Because before the tough questions started, bike shares were seen as this amazing solution. And it wasn't just a trend, it was a full-on, city-changing boom. And when I say boom, I mean it was explosive. Just look at this timeline. In less than 10 years, the U.S. went from, a handful of docks to almost 40,000. That is a wild rate of growth, and it completely changed how we talk about getting around in cities.
So why did everyone fall in love with them? Well, if you're a city planner, these things are a dream come true. I mean, they check all the boxes, right? They get people active, which is great for public health. They cut down on pollution. And, this is a big one, they solve that tricky first and last mile problem. Getting you from the bus stop right to your front door. Plus, they're packed with cool tech, like solar power and GPS. It's a win-win-win.
But right alongside all that excitement, a pretty tough question started to bubble up. A question about fairness, about equity.
As more and more of these bikes hit the streets, people started to look a little closer at the maps. They started noticing a pattern in where the stations were being put. And they began to ask, wait a minute, is everyone actually getting to enjoy this great new thing?
And this quote really just hits the nail on the head. The worry wasn't just about bikes. It was about seeing a pattern we've seen before. A long, frustrating history of transportation projects that help out wealthier neighborhoods while completely bypassing lower-income ones.
All right, so is there any actual data to back up these concerns? Let's take a look at what a national study found when it really started mapping this divide. Okay, so before we jump into the findings, we need to understand this key tool the researchers used. It's called the Economic Hardship Index. Basically, it's a way to score neighborhoods based on 6 different signs of distress. So things like unemployment, how much people are spending on housing, that kind of stuff. A higher score just means more hardship. Simple enough, right? And when the researchers took that index and mapped every single bike station against it, wow, the picture became crystal clear. Take a look at this. A whopping 75%, that's 3 out of every 4 stations, were located in the nation's least distressed neighborhoods. Meanwhile, the communities dealing with the most hardship, they had access to only a tiny, tiny fraction of the system. And this map of Chattanooga, Tennessee really shows you what that data looks like on the ground. The neighborhoods you see in red, those have the highest economic hardship. Now, try to find the bike stations. They're the little white squares. See them? They're all clustered in the blue and yellow areas, almost totally avoiding the communities that could probably use affordable transit options the most. So yeah, that data paints a pretty grim picture. But that's not where the story ends. The real question is, can you fix this? And to find an answer, let's look at a city that stared this problem right in the face, Chicago. When Chicago launched its massive Divvy bike system back in 2013, it ran into this exact same issue. The first wave of stations was all packed into the downtown area and the wealthier north side, and right away people started calling them out for leaving the city's south and west sides in the dust. But then, Chicago actually did something about it. On the left, that's the station map before their big 2015 expansion. Now, look at the map on the right, after the expansion. The difference is it's night and day. The city made a conscious, deliberate choice to push the system into those underserved communities, totally changing who could get to these bikes. And here are the cold, hard numbers to back it up. This table breaks down the change in stations based on neighborhood hardship. Sure, the wealthiest areas got a little 21% bump, but look at the other end of the spectrum. The number of stations in high hardship areas jumped by 283%, and in moderate hardship areas, it exploded by over 300%. This wasn't an accident. This was a targeted, data-driven mission to fix a problem. So what's the big takeaway from Chicago's story? Well, it shows us that these equity problems aren't set in stone. It proves that with intentional, thoughtful planning, cities absolutely can build fairer, more inclusive systems. And the really good news is, it looks like other cities are learning this lesson. Instead of having to go back and fix the problem later, new systems are thinking about equity from day one. Philadelphia, for instance, put a third of its starting fleet right in low-income neighborhoods. Seattle and Milwaukee made similar moves. The whole trend is shifting towards planning for fairness right from the get-go.
And that brings us to our final thought. This whole story, it's about more than just bikes, isn't it? It's kind of a test case for all the smart city stuff that's coming our way. It proves that innovation without intention can just make old inequalities even deeper. So the question we're left with is this. As our cities keep getting smarter, what deliberate choices do we have to make to ensure they also get fairer for every single person who calls them home?